From the toothy grins to the great swords, the fact that they're just very good. I love Bloodletters, love Khorne in general. Today we've got a replay from Coops where he is taking mostly all Bloodletters, pretty much. He's got 5 regular Bloodletters plus 2 Exalteds on each flank, led by a Herald of Khorne with a Blood Reaper hero. We do have one single Cultist as the only sort of mortal follower here, and then some Fleshhounds and Furies out on the periphery for some mobility, facing against the armies of Cathay, Loopy's Cathay, in fact, Loopy being a pillar of the community, definitely a veteran player as well, so looking forward to these two fighting. We've got a couple of Longmas dropping early, trying to neutralize those Fleshhounds, along with the Dragon-Blooded Lord here. Let's take a look. Lore of Yang, got the Dragon Breath, and Jade Shield, probably the two meta picks for that Lore of Magic for the time being. Halberds up front for Cathay. We've got some Celestial Dragon Guard, and then the Jade Halberds up front. We've also got Grand Cannon as well, more Jade Halberds in the back. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. You can see Cathay taking a defensive position around this Grand Cannon. Definitely the right call, but there's no really large targets to shoot at besides the Fleshhounds, which are sort of fighting in the woods. Cannon doesn't have a great line of fire on either unit. Not that the cannon even needs to shoot them. The Longmas are doing a decent enough job clearing them out. We do have one more Fleshhound sweeping up and around, though. Going to try and maybe sneak in and get on that Grand Cannon. Also a summon in the back line to, again, maybe try and get back after that Grand Cannon with the Celestial Dragon Guard will intercept. Summon Bloodletters are going to trade fantastically cost-effective against these Celestial Dragon Guard, and in general, once the Bloodletters get into combat, they will start to work down those Cathayan infantry very, very quickly. The Cathayan infantry will output some damage in return, certainly, but the physical resistance helps quite a bit in that aspect. Only 26 melee defense is relatively low, but keep in mind with going with more of a halberd tech build, you have lower, excuse me, lower attack anyway, and even with the swords, right, the Jade Swordsmen don't have that good of attack anyway, so in general, just the low offensive output does come back to bite you a little bit in this type of situation. See the Bloodletters getting in there, but it is quite a long, grinding battle. Plenty of rear charges from the Longmas should also do some pretty good damage as well. A little bit of hammer and anvil tactics from Cathay. Keep things lined up as they all get into combat here. Exalted Bloodletters getting up and around the flank, just immediately eating a rear charge. Great value there on the Longmas, already almost 500 value from just a couple of charges. And other Fleshhounds getting caught and destroyed in the woods. So Cathay getting a distinct mobility advantage early here is huge. What that means is they'll be able to use that cannon effectively. Maybe should have brought even more ranged, to be honest. A couple of Peasant Archers would have helped saturate these low armor Bloodletters with quite a bit of cost-effective fire. But even still, they are taking some damage, breaking through on many fronts. Still getting the job done. Watching as they charge in here, get on these Jade Halberds on both sides. Longmas trying their best to cycle charge. The fact that the sort of flying units still not working very well in that they have a very hard time disengaging, right? Like if even one of the Longmas is on the ground still, the entire unit will wig out and just turn around and come back onto the ground. So let's watch for that. See if the Longmas are able to cleanly disengage here so they can actually get their charge bonus again. It looks like they were all pretty much able to disengage due to the fact that the Bloodletters were disintegrating. So that's pretty nice, but still this pocket of Bloodletters holding, Sword of Khorne being popped here. We've got Bloodletters, Blood Reaper, the Herald, all Locus of Abjuration as well, so that if there is any more of those Fire Breath spells, won't do as much damage. I mean, it puts all these Khorne demons at 80 magic resistance, right? 91% magic resistance, which I believe is actually the max. I believe resistance is capped at 90. So it'd be taking minimal damage from any spells during the uptime of that Locus of Abjuration. Definitely a good bring in this matchup, as Cathay does have quite powerful AoE magic damage. Finally, though, the Exalted Bloodletters are able to get through and shut down the cannon. The Cultists currently getting just absolutely power moved as the Dragon-Blooded Lord struggles to land. Eventually, she does get down onto the ground, though. Helps finish off that Cultist. We do have the one Iron Hail Gunner that I failed to spot earlier that's been in here, riding a little bit of fire. They're trying to stay away from those Bloodletters, so the cavalry will come screen them out, and beautiful charge there sends some Bloodletters tumbling out into the distance, bursting into flames. I love that effect, by the way. And that does mean the Iron Hail Gunners are mostly able to squeak away here. The question is, what are they going to start firing at? Obviously, the armor piercing of the Iron Hails doesn't matter in this situation at all. Really nice Fire Dragon Breath there. Doesn't do too much damage, but certainly does some damage. Maybe should have waited till they were all bunched up. You could hit all of these units at the same time, but still. Last, the Halberds being shut down there. We do have 2 more Jades coming back from route over here. And this massive Air Force is still online. The balance of power really favoring Cathay at this point because the Dragon-Blooded Lord's still so healthy and because this is such a serious air cavalry force. They are quite potent, although, you know, damage output even still is pretty good, certainly. 65 weapon strength on 75 charge. Only 36 attacks, so in sustained combat, they're actually going to trade pretty badly. And keep in mind that especially like the Exalted Bloodletters with that Horn of Khorne, up to 67 melee attack, 53 weapon strength with great armor piercing values, they're going to wreck those Longmas in sustained combat, even with how tattered they are. And we still got this one more Bloodletter here that's almost completely healthy, so a little bit of danger if him getting isolated and multi-charge here. It looks like they didn't quite get a direct rear charge or side charge as well as they could have. A little bit of a wonky impact there. They did get some damage, certainly. But the Blood Reaper also and the Herald both, 400 and 375 weapon strength, respectively, with massive charge bonus and attack. And make consistent contact with these units. And with that much weapon strength, too, against these cavalry, flying cavalry, they're going to be dishing significant HP damage and just killing off the unit models. Still got the Cultist mixed in here, too. You can see he's got his axe and shield out for Khorne. Definitely makes me very excited for more Khorne mortal units. And the Longmans are just continuing to cycle charge as aggressively as they can at this point. There's not really much else left on the field for Cathay. Yeah, it's pretty much just the flying cavalry, and every time they charge down, they're dealing damage, certainly, but they're also taking quite a bit of damage in return. We'll fast forward a little bit as some of these halberds come back from route. The cavalry tries to concentrate. I'm not sure if they were all targeted on the cultists there. Definitely would have been a mistake. I would think here you'd want to target one longma on each of these 3 tattered units of infantry. Try and take them out and then concentrate your charges after that onto these 2 characters here. But with the extra infantry support, these characters, I mean, this Exalted Bloodletter in particular, still, you know, fully charged up with Hellblade, just ready to rumble. Easily shatter what's left of those Jade Halberds. So we'll fast forward a little bit more. There was the cultist being finished off there, I think. And finally the Longmas come down to make their final charge. And concentrating on the Bloodletters, definitely a good option. Nice Fire Dragon Breath too. Will it be enough at the end of the day? Let's see. Khorne Demons are holding their leadership. Locus of Abjuration, pop the... I don't know. I don't think they actually had that up in time to block the spell damage there, but just in case there was any other spells to be used, it has a relatively short cooldown, I think. Yeah. But, yeah, all the Longmas just immediately break pretty much. Well, not immediately, but they do certainly break against the tide of Bloodletters. And who would have thought just massive Bloodletter spam with even like the Bloodletter Hero and Lord mixed in on foot would be so good here. Like I said, I think a little bit of extra range in this Cathayan build could have definitely provided some troubles. From Coop's perspective, maybe you arguably cut one of the infantry Bloodletters for 2 of the cheap Warhounds just for some extra anti-cavalry, anti-missile capability so that your mobility doesn't get so easily neutralized. But definitely a very aggressive play from the Longmas. I like to see that. Decisively winning mobility early. Just don't have a ton of range tools to try and capitalize on that. The Iron Hails do pay for themselves pretty much. Grand Cannons get pretty close, but a lot of these Halberd infantry just underperform. And unfortunately, Cathay, in terms of damage dealing units, melee units, they don't really have a lot. Halberds obviously will be good at dealing damage to large targets, but against infantry, they tend to struggle. Don't really have a lot of great anti-infantry options. Yeah, even shooting-wise, like, I guess technically you could consider like the rockets and anti-infantry artillery. They're really janky to use. I mean, obviously, hindsight being 2020 in this specific battle, right, with these specific build setups, a rockets might have been better than a cannon. But, you know, you can't exactly predict that all the time. Khorne can definitely bring some big, scary monsters, so you got to be aware of that, absolutely. On Coop's side here, I mean, one of those Exalted Bloodletters racked up 2,200 damage value. Love to see that. Both the Khorne heroes also pretty good value. They do have low armor, so they tend to take some unnecessary damage. Arguably unnecessary, but anyway. A lot of the Bloodletters also perform quite cost-effectively. One of the few battles I've seen recently, too, where Fleshhounds do not perform. But credit to Loopy's cavalry play there, just to strike forth and win decisively. Unfortunately, then, Longmas just weren't enough DPS to get through all the Bloodletters. Maybe a little bit more shooting DPS, perhaps. But what do I know? Cathay definitely could use some more units in their roster to help them improve. Khorne, while they could definitely use more units, I think their roster is arguably the most complete and functional of any of the demons. Probably because they have actual warrior units. Like, they have actual warriors of chaos, right? As mid-tier infantry, which I think is pretty essential for all the chaos factions as kind of a complement to their standard demonic infantry. But anyway, I'm kind of going on a tangent there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.